Hello. This video will explain about abuse in workplace. What is abuse in operation management?
Abuse in operation management. The mistreatment, misuse, or improper handling of power, resources, or processes within an organization. Involves actions or behaviors that are unethical, harmful, or exploitative, often resulting in negative consequences for individuals or the organization as a whole.
There are several types of abuse that can occur in the workplace. Here are some common forms of workplace abuse. Firstly, physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional or psychological abuse, sexual harassment, discrimination, bullying, cyberbullying, financial abuse, domestic or intimate partner abuse, neglect, child abuse, and lastly, institutional abuse.
Definition of each type of abuse.
Physical abuse. This involves the intentional use of physical force against another employee, resulting in harm or injury. Physical abuse can include hitting, pushing, kicking, or any other form of physical assault. Verbal abuse. Verbal abuse includes the use of derogatory language, insults, threats, shouting, or belittling comments directed towards an employee. It can create a hostile work environment and negatively impact the victim's self-esteem and well-being.
Emotional or psychological abuse. Emotional or psychological abuse involves behaviors that inflict mental or emotional harm on an employee. It can include constant criticism, humiliation, intimidation, manipulation, or isolation, leading to emotional distress and psychological damage.
Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is a form of abuse that involves unwanted sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. It can create a hostile work environment and adversely affect an employee's well-being and job performance.
Discrimination. Discrimination occurs when an employee is treated unfairly or denied opportunities based on their race, gender, age, religion, disability, or other protected characteristics. It can involve biased hiring or promotion practices, unequal pay, or exclusion from certain activities or benefits.
Hello. Bullying. Workplace bullying is characterized by repeated, intentional, and persistent mistreatment of an employee by a colleague or a group of colleagues. It can involve verbal abuse, humiliation, intimidation, spreading rumors, or sabotaging work performance.
Cyberbullying. With the increasing use of technology, cyberbullying has become a concern in the workplace. It includes the use of electronic means such as emails, instant messaging, social media platforms, or online forums to harass, intimidate, or humiliate an employee.
Bonjour. Financial abuse, exploitation or misuse of a person's financial resources or assets. It can involve unauthorized use of funds, stealing money or property, controlling finances without consent, coercing someone to provide financial support, or exploiting vulnerabilities for personal financial gain.
Domestic or intimate partner abuse. Domestic or intimate partner abuse occurs within a relationship, typically involving violence, control, and manipulation. It can include physical, emotional, sexual, or financial abuse perpetrated by a current or former partner or spouse.
Neglect. Neglect refers to the failure to provide adequate care, support, or attention to someone who is dependent or in need of assistance. It can include failing to meet basic needs such as food, shelter, medical care, hygiene, or emotional support.
Child abuse. Any act or failure to act that endangers or harms the physical, emotional, or psychological well-being of a child. It can include physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, or exploitation of a child.
Oh, hello there. Lastly is institutional abuse. Institutional abuse occurs within settings such as care homes, hospitals, or other institutions where vulnerable individuals are under the care or authority of others. It involves systemic mistreatment or neglect that may include physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, as well as neglect of basic needs and rights.
Next, I will explain about how can discrimination be overcome. Firstly, implement diversity and inclusion initiatives that foster a culture of equality and respect for all employees. Train employees on diversity awareness and sensitivity to mitigate discriminatory behaviors. Establish clear policies against discrimination and communicate them effectively throughout the organization.
Hello there. Now I will talk about how can bullying be overcome. First, develop and communicate a strong anti-bullying policy that explicitly addresses different forms of bullying. Second, educate employees about bullying behaviors and their detrimental impact on the work environment. And last, offer support and counseling services to employees who have experienced bullying.
Hello, I am Janet. I will explain about how can cyberbullying be overcome. Firstly, establish guidelines on acceptable online behavior and communicate them to employees. Secondly, provide training on responsible digital communication and the consequences of cyberbullying. And lastly, encourage employees to report instances of cyberbullying and ensure their confidentiality and protection.
Hello there, I will explain how can financial abuse be overcome. Raise awareness about financial abuse, highlighting signs and strategies for prevention. Encourage financial literacy and independence, empowering individuals to manage their own finances and recognize signs of financial abuse. Promote collaboration between financial institutions, law enforcement, and social services to detect and prevent financial exploitation.
Hello. Next we will explain how to overcome each abuse.
How can physical abuse be overcome? Firstly, establish a zero-tolerance policy for physical violence and clearly communicate it to all employees. Provide training on conflict resolution and anger management to prevent physical altercations. Encourage employees to report any incidents of physical abuse immediately.
Hi there. Next is, how can verbal abuse be overcome? Promote a culture of respect and civility through training, communication, and leadership examples. Develop clear guidelines on acceptable communication and enforce them consistently. Encourage employees to speak up if they experience or witness verbal abuse and provide reporting channels.
Now I will explain about how can emotional abuse be overcome. Firstly, establish policies that explicitly prohibit emotional or psychological abuse. Educate employees on recognizing emotional abuse and its impact on mental health. Encourage a supportive work environment where employees can seek assistance or report abusive behavior without fear of retaliation.
How can sexual harassment be overcome? Develop a comprehensive sexual harassment policy that outlines prohibited behaviors and reporting procedures. Provide regular training to employees to create awareness and prevent sexual harassment. Establish confidential reporting channels and ensure that reported incidents are promptly investigated.
Hi, now I will talk about how can domestic or intimate partner abuse be overcome. First, support comprehensive domestic violence prevention and intervention programs, including counseling, emergency shelters, and legal aid. Second, advocate for laws that protect victims of domestic abuse and hold perpetrators accountable, including restraining orders and specialized courts. Last, promote community awareness and bystander intervention to encourage reporting and support for victims.
Oh sorry. Now I will tell you guys about how can neglect be overcome. Firstly, strengthen social welfare systems to identify and intervene in cases of neglect, ensuring the safety and well-being of vulnerable individuals. Also, provide education and resources to caregivers on proper care and responsibilities, emphasizing the importance of meeting the basic needs of dependents. Lastly, develop support services and interventions that address the underlying causes of neglect, including poverty, substance abuse, or mental health issues.
Hi guys. Next I will tell you guys about how can child abuse be overcome. Establish mandatory reporting laws to ensure that professionals and community members report suspected child abuse promptly. Develop comprehensive child protection services that provide immediate assistance, counseling, and legal support for child abuse victims. Promote parenting programs and resources that educate parents and caregivers on positive discipline, child development, and healthy parent-child relationships.
Hello there, my name Drake. Next I will explain about how can child abuse be overcome. Firstly, establish mandatory reporting laws to ensure that professionals and community members report suspected child abuse promptly. Secondly, develop comprehensive child protection services that provide immediate assistance, counseling, and legal support for child abuse victims. Lastly, promote parenting programs and resources that educate parents and caregivers on positive discipline, child development, and healthy parent-child relationships.
Lastly, how can institutional abuse be overcome? First, implement rigorous oversight and regulatory frameworks to ensure the safety and well-being of individuals within institutions. Second, foster a culture of reporting and accountability within institutions to encourage the reporting of abuse and protect whistleblowers. And last, train staff on recognizing and addressing abuse, promoting a safe and supportive environment for individuals under institutional care.
Next, what effort from both employees and the organization as a whole can do?
Firstly, create awareness. Educate employees about what constitutes workplace abuse, its impact on individuals and the organization, and the available resources for support. Raise awareness through training programs, workshops, and informative materials. Second, encourage reporting. Establish a safe and confidential reporting mechanism for employees to report instances of abuse. Assure employees that their concerns will be taken seriously and that they will be protected from retaliation. Third, conduct thorough investigations. When a report is received, conduct a fair and impartial investigation to gather facts and evidence. Ensure that the investigation process is transparent, confidential, and respects the rights of all parties involved. Fourth, take immediate action. If abuse is substantiated, take appropriate action promptly. This may include disciplinary measures, such as reprimands, suspension, or termination, depending on the severity of the offense. Communicate the outcome of the investigation to all relevant parties involved. Lastly, provide support to victims. Offer support and resources to employees who have experienced abuse. This can include access to counseling services, employee assistance programs, or legal assistance. Maintain confidentiality and ensure that victims feel supported throughout the process.
That's all from us. Thank you for watching. My name, Muhammad Hafiq Izzat bin Muhammad Ramzan.
My name Muhammad Mustaqim bin Taipul Nizam.
And my name, Ahmad Sami Adri bin Muhammad Shukur.